It was a nice, breezy day in the late 1970s when Doris entered Ghana Medical School to train as a doctor. She was happy and excited, a young, beautiful girl who dreamt about a wonderful future that will make herself and her family proud. Doris' happiness was, however, short-lived. As in life, and with most things, she did not quite understand what was happening to her.
Sadly, I felt something terrible was going to happen.
She started to feel lonely, very lonely and cold inside.
Deep sadness and a deep fear.
When Doris could not shake off her mood swings, she started to skip classes and wanted to be alone. She felt confused by the intensity of how she felt, but seemed helpless. Doris was suffering from depression. Doris' father knew his daughter needed help and sent her to a cross-psychiatric hospital. His decision prompted an incredible, if not extraordinary, struggle to find treatment that lasted 22 years. Ghana Medical School said Doris could return within 3 years if she felt better. But the pressure for a cure became intensive when she did not feel any better. The family strongly believed there was a spiritual cause for Doris' mental illness and dispatched her to fetishes and spiritual camps across Ghana. Doris' depressed soul had escaped from the world of reality and needed to be persuaded back home. She felt unwell and dejected, but she was beaten whenever she tried to escape.
He hit me with a belt. He used the hook. First time that as a mentally ill person, somebody had hit me.
Eventually, she succeeded. Doris slept under the open skies, rain or shine, cold and sad, wondering if life was worth living. The family caught up with her again. This time, she was dispatched to a spiritual camp. Her days were filled with an intensive routine of prayers and casting away of demons. She fasted, which made her weak. Very weak. This evening, the unruly brother of the pastor returned from town intoxicated and swinging a gin bottle. An extraordinary thing happened. Doris was chained for days, but the chains could not break her spirit.
I wanted to go back home. So every time I wanted to go back home, that means they have to come back and chain you because they haven't finished doing what. Every time I tried to run away, they found me and brought me back. So I remember on my 1989, it was on my birthday, 28th April. And then they used to have entertainment at that Asori Fair. And I never used to go. I always used to be in my room. So when they were there, I decided to move.
she escaped again, hiding. Wandering desperately, trying to find a living soul who would be kind enough to help her escape from her living hell.
I didn't have the courage to kill myself, but I was hoping that something would happen, and then that would be it. I was also taken to the north, Boliga, a place called Sibilla, and we went beyond Sibilla. And I remember the place that they took us, we could count the huts that were there. And so when we got down from the car, and then the car left, I asked my mom, where are we going to sleep? And my mom just burst out in tears.
It was a cloudy afternoon. Doris wandered around. She was hungry and would be happy for a meal. She had no money. These kids knew she was starving and managed to find some coins to buy her food. After she had finished eating, they threw away the pan.
In fact, my stomach churned within me, and I said, well, whatever it is, I'll go back home.
It was one of the lowest points in Doris' life, but she knew within herself that the only way to go was up. Doris eventually returned to her family with stealth determination and extraordinary help. Doris started to feel better. She went back to university and graduated with a degree in nursing, another fascinating chapter in her extraordinary life.
Good evening, Miss Doris Appiah-Danquah. I think you led an incredible life.
I tell my story with a smile, but it's a sad story.
It's also a story of hope.
Yeah, it's a story of not giving up, knowing that if I just tried, I will not stay at the bottom. If I tried, I'll get to the hilltop.
You were at the medical school,
Yeah.
and then you got ill.
I got depressed, yeah, I got sick.
It started a whole chain of events.
Yeah. I started with the psychiatric hospital. It just took one psychiatrist telling my dad that this is how I'm going to be, and they must accept it. The orthodox medicine could not help.
That you would never recover?
Yeah, I'll never recover, so they just have to accept me as I have become.
How did you take those words?
Well, for me, when you are really sick, you're not really in charge of what is happening. I didn't really have control over what was happening. I was not going to be the person to decide what was going to the next action. And that's the problem with those of us who have mental illness. You don't have a power of choice.
Dr. Donaire?
It sent some chills down my spine when she made that revelation. But that might have been many years ago. Psychiatry was still in the wilderness. Understanding of mental illness was not as we have it today. Medical science has advanced so much to the cell level, at the molecular level now. It was an unfortunate pronouncement, I would say. She could have finished as a doctor and practiced and had an illustrious career, but for that pronouncement that led her to other places. Of course, every parent would want the best for their child, especially when that child is in medical school.
Absolutely.
Or is in one of the so-called learned professions.
If I can come back to you, Doris, I understand you had 3 years to go back.
Yeah.
Did that increase the pressure on you?
It did increase the pressure on me. Because I was racing with time and not getting any better.
And family, of course, being more anxious than...
Yeah, more anxious than ever to take me. So they just have to hear somebody say, I can get better somewhere, and off we go.
Fetish places.
Fetish, I went to faith-based places.
What was the experience in the fetish places?
Yeah, the fetish, there they didn't tie us up. In the fetish, they didn't beat us up. That's the difference between that and the faith-based places.
What did they do?
They gave us things to drink, and they put things in our noses, but I really didn't know what herbs those were. And one place I said, I just thank God I didn't become an alcoholic, because everything that we took had to be put in gin. And I am thankful to God that I didn't turn into an alcoholic. I could easily have done.
Sure, you had a carer, and you tried
who hit me with a belt, because I said I was coming back to Accra on foot from Latte. And he was telling me to come back, and I wouldn't. And so he hit me with a belt. And unfortunately, it was the hook part that hit my eye. But that was why my father took me away from Latte. And I didn't arrive home. I was taken to another fetish from there.
And then, of course, the spiritual homes.
Yeah, I have been to a lot of spiritual homes.
What is the normal procedure?
Fasting, praying. And then because I have also read the Bible, if you tell me it is written, I will tell it is also written. And that for me, to them, was a challenge. But how can you come and challenge us? And what right do you have to challenge us? And so I got beaten up several times when I tried to. I said, no, I'm not staying anymore. I'm going home. They'll come looking for me, bring me back. And when I come, I get a good beating. And then once when I really challenged somebody, I got a slap. That made me see sparks. And when I went further to resist, I was tied up, and I have scars to show to date from how badly.
In the open, outside?
Yes, I was left outside, and that particular night it rained. And as I screamed and rolled around, the next day I was dirty and, muddy. And they just released me a little while for me to take a bath, and I was chained again.
So when your parents came, what happened?
My mother was there with me. She couldn't sit there. Because, you see, it was between the devil and the deep blue sea. If they left me to go out, a lot of people will know that they have a child who is mentally ill. Whatever they do, and people from outside who don't know that this was what was happening. People say horrible things. You hear people saying, like once I was going to a family friend's house, and within hearing, I heard them say, but I'm phoning Nebano. That means it's a mad person coming. So maybe they won't say it to my face. But maybe I'm sitting in a car, and there's a mad person out there, and they said God has punished them for their wickedness. And one particular nurse who said in the hospital that with this stupid sickness, I don't have some in my family. That was my turning point. That was when I told myself, I must get well and never come here again. People said I had run after somebody's husband, because then I was a pretty girl. I had eaten up, I'm a witch, and I've eaten up all my children. I've been punished for my sins. I've been punished, because I didn't serve God well.
Dr. Donaire, how does this play on a mental ill person getting better?
It makes them unable to come forward for help. So they are left in the fringes, and then, like any other illness, they stay over a longer period and they get complications, including death. It is well established that people with some certain types of mental illnesses would die 25 years earlier than their peers. They are prone to all the diabetes, the heart problems, the cholesterol problems. They die a lot more from cardiovascular problems like heart attacks or cardiac arrest.
All the young people that were in the mental hospital with me when I went there first in 1978, they are all dead. I'm the only one alive.
Auntie Doris, you were literally on the run.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the only way I can describe, you know, your escapades and so on. And how did you live?
People will see you and say, Obi ba fefe, and give me food. And so I didn't have to beg for food. I met some young children who said, oh, mommy, they gave me food, kenken, after I'd eaten nice plates. I was very happy. I said, well, these children have treated me really well. That's what I thought. Only for me to finish eating and see them throw it into the boiler.
You throw the pans?
The plate into the boiler.
Yeah. And
that for me, it killed me. And in fact, I started, talking then, and they rather said they're going to report me to the police. So I said, well, I'm going to the police station myself. And then when I went, they said, there's no case that, I don't have a case that they can.
Yeah.
So I can sit there and then morning I can go.
So the policeman said, you can't come
They
inside.
can't come inside.
You haven't committed any offense. So they can't put you in the jail.
They can't also.
So you have to sit outside.
So I had to sit outside till the next morning. And then I moved, tried to look for relatives that I knew in Kumasi.
But what sort of dangers as a, of course, a young
You can
girl.
get raped. It almost happened to me. And I just screamed, Jesus. And it was near where some watchmen were. And so the person just started running. But if those watchmen were not around, I don't know what would have happened to me. There's a man that actually grabbed me. And then, so the other people that are not fortunate. And I remember I told you that the young mentally ill people that are pregnant, who makes them pregnant? It's not other mad people. The normal people that are so-called normal people walking around.
So where do you sleep when it comes to
Anywhere,
night?
anywhere. I don't mind on the pavement, anywhere that, if I'm sleeping enough, anywhere. And men will always come up to you. And so then a man comes and I must move out of the place. So finally I got to this watchman that rescued me and told me I should stay there till the morning. And then they gave me money the next day to go home. And then I was hungry, so I ended up using the money to buy food to eat. And then it means I had to walk back home. And I remember I got to the mosque, Abu Sukam Mosque, and I sat there. And there was this young girl. I will never meet her anywhere again. But she came and said, Mommy, go home. And I said, I don't have a child. You're not my mother. I said, if you don't have a child, I'm your mother. She gave me ice water to drink. I said, she begged me to go home. If I had the wings of the dove, I'll fly where nobody can find me.
The incident with the kids is what I want to base on to make a statement that mental illnesses are non-communicable diseases. We tend to believe, it's a myth, that if you're associated with someone who is mentally ill, then you'd also become mentally ill. And that is probably what informed these children to, after serving a good meal in a very decent bowl or plate, after they threw it away.
There's also the spiritual aspect of it, where people feel mentally ill people have been cursed, and that if you come into contact with them, you would, as it were, get enroped into the curse.
Yes.
Precisely.
The other thing is our poor understanding of the signs and symptoms of mental illnesses. The brain is, I would liken it to a computer, which has a hardware and a software. Mental illnesses are the diseases of the software. And that is where we psychiatrists come in.
We don't have many psychiatric hospitals. We only have 3 in the country. How many psychiatrists? I'm not sure, but I think...
about 14, let's
40?
say. 14.
14 for the whole country of 20-something million.
Yeah, majority of them in Accra.
Million people.
Yes.
So, of course, anyone who doesn't feel well mentally would go to the OPD of any hospital. How equipped are we at that level?
Close to 40% of people attending any general OPD, if you go to La OPD or Mamprobi Polyclinic OPD, just 40% of them are there because of mental ill health. In psychiatry, we don't have what we call madness. What people see and say it's madness are the ones they see on the street, which is just the tip of the iceberg, the minority.
So what are
1%.
the other elements?
There are other ones, people who are homebound because they have very severe anxiety disorders, various types, people with very severe or mild to moderate depressive illnesses, people with what we call dissociative, sensory dissociative disorders, people with certain personality disorders. Your personality can get ill as well because the software function of the brain. People having mental ill health as a complication of head injury that could result from a road traffic accident or
trauma.
from trauma of any kind to the head or to the brain, and then also from brain infections. We are not in sync with the current understanding of mental ill health. There is the need for first-line caregivers, primary health caregivers,
to train them
to be trained, because we know that just about all of them could be trained to identify and be able to manage majority of the cases that present there. One, it reduces stigma. Two, it provides a platform for acceptability of treatment. We still have people who, when they are asked to see the psychiatrist or the psychologist, they would ask you, do you think I'm mad? The other aspect is that mental ill health, or people who suffer mental illnesses, are probably the #1 group of persons who are victimized for being ill.
Did you feel that?
I think absolutely. I mean, always I felt that way. Because I see somebody do exactly what I'm doing, and they are allowed to do it. But because I've had mental illness, I have no right to be doing that. It's not happening all the time. You don't have a choice. And I keep describing my experience as being in prison without walls. Yeah. You are not considered. For me, it's like a death sentence waiting for. Because who wants your opinion? Who has to ask for your opinion? I mean, that's what you... So either you keep quiet, or when you want to be assertive, it is taken to mean aggression. And I've never beaten anybody up, but I've been beaten up. I've never chained anybody.
They feel they have the right to.
Yeah.
Because you are much of a lesser human being.
Yeah, so how dare you?
Let's turn to rehabilitation and integrating mentally ill people back into society. Do you think we need to do a bit more in our institutions to prepare people?
The baseline is that, like any other non-communicable disease, if you intervene early, the person is fully treated and they recover fully. The current law wants to de-institutionalize and de-medicalize. It doesn't mean that you would, because these are biological events, so it doesn't mean that you will not take medication. In psychiatry or in mental health, the medications has a place, and the non-medical approaches, or what we call the psychological interventions, also have a place.
People must know, because when people don't know, ignorance is such a terrible thing in itself. In my wildest dreams, I didn't think that one day we'll be discussing mental health.
Nobody is born with a mark on the forehead that as for you, you will develop mental illness. All of us, including me sitting here and you out there, can develop mental ill health.
I remember when one of my brothers was getting engaged, I was around. Everybody left, and so sometimes you feel like people are ashamed to even know that they know you. So I don't, I'm a friendly person. I don't make friends easily. And everybody that I meet, I let you know immediately that I have had mental illness before. I don't want you to hear it from somebody because they might not say it right.
I also think that we need to broaden the range of triggers that people usually associate with mental illness.
Exactly.
Stress.
Just yesterday, I saw a young lady whose mother a month ago passed on. And a month later, the daughter has developed a mental illness.
Doris, I understand you are now an advocate,
yeah,
and doing a lot of work. How is that going?
Oh, it's going well. We formed a Mental Health Society of Ghana. Although we are cash-strapped, there are a lot of things that you can do that money can't do. So we have self-help groups, and there's a group that meets in my house, and they come on the last Friday of every month. Just sitting there not doing anything will not help you to get well. A lot of people who have recovered just sit at home. Get something small, anything small to do. It will take your mind off mental. So that's what we do. We help each other and all that.
Yeah. What message you have for all of us from your experience?
Well, I think my coming out and letting people know that I have mental illness and I've recovered. I went back to Legon. I have a degree in nursing. Even getting certified was difficult. But I didn't let that stop me. Within my community today, there used to be children running after madmen, throwing stones at them. But because I came out, they've stopped. God does not discriminate depending upon what condition that you have. No matter how you are, God still loves you because He made you. God has never given up on anybody. So you have no business giving up on yourself.